Hey guys, OCB Communications, and welcome to my review of The Proposition. This is the last film that I'm reviewing of the movies that were sent to me by CampbellFan22. Thank you, CampbellFan, for sending me this along with all the other movies you sent me. Um, although I think he's a fan of this movie, and that's perfectly fine. There's a lot of fans of this movie. 7.5 out of 10 on IMDb, all these great reviews and everything, but I gotta be honest, and that's how I am. Always. Honesty, completely honest with my reviews. I'm not a big fan of this movie. I'm not gonna say it sucked, because I think that would do this film a disservice, because there are a lot of things that it did well. It had a great cinematography. The direction by John Hillcoat was really well done. He did a great job. The cinematography of the film was stunning. It was a visually stunning movie. Cinematography by Benoit Delholme. And, you know, but all these reviews I disagree with. I don't think it stands alongside the best Peckinpah, Eastwood, and Sergio Leone. I disagree. This doesn't even touch Peckinpah's Wild Bunch, in my opinion. Or, two big thumbs up at Eber and Roper. I disagree. It's a savage and bloody, makes for compelling viewing. I'm sorry, I was too busy being bored. I couldn't, and I could not be compelled. It wasn't very compelling to me. Western is alive and well. Obviously not, because this movie's got its praise and acclaim, but it didn't do that great in the box office. And it also ended up not really creating a resurrection for the Western genre. Western genre is still pretty much almost dead in theaters. Classic, one cool film. I disagree. 4 stars, Roger Ebert, really? An A minus. It's like there's just so many great reviews for this movie, and that's the problem. When I see a movie that just has so much, an overabundance of just amazing reviews, and there doesn't seem to be anybody that doesn't like it, then I kind of then my halter gets up, so to speak. I kind of get a little bit like, okay, really, is it really that great? And I don't want this. This isn't. I don't even. This is probably going to be a review slash rant. This is what this is. This is like a mix of the two. It's not a movie that I hated. Like, I didn't hate this movie. I know I did. I did. I did say on a Skype message to one of my friends while I was watching it that I hated it. But at the end of the day, I don't. I can't really say I do. It was just like me venting, like, oh, I hate this movie. But really, I can't really say that. I've seen a lot worse than The Proposition. At the end of the day, it's just not my cup of tea. I don't like these type of movies. They're not my idea of entertainment. And they might be someone else's idea of entertainment, and that's perfectly fine. And I don't have a problem with that. It's just I can appreciate the film for its visuals, and they are some really great visuals. And the soundtrack by Nick Cave was interesting. There were some songs I didn't care for, but it was interesting. And the performances were solid. The acting wasn't a problem. Everyone in the cast did a good job. Guy Pearce, Ray Winstone, Emily Watson, Danny Huston, the little bit that he had, David Wenham, and John Hurt. Well, John Hurt I thought overacted a bit, but that's really about it. I thought a lot of the actors and actresses on the film did a really good job. The movie also did a good job. It very low budget. I mean, it was like it cost about $2 million to make, and it looked really good. I mean, it was really had it did look like it used its budget phenomenally well. It looked a lot better than even big budget westerns did. I appreciate the grit. I appreciate the bits of blood and gore that were in the film. There was a moment where an aborigine gets his head blown off, and there are a few moments here and there. So I appreciate the fact that it was rated R. Um, the biggest problem for me with this movie was that I didn't feel that there were any characters that I truly cared for. That I except for Mike, the younger brother of um, Guy Pearce's character, Charlie Burns, Mike Burns, played by Richard Wilson. I felt for him because I felt that he was in the wrong place, the wrong time, the wrong group of people. I mean, it's his family, but he gets basically put as a scapegoat for this town to get their revenge and justice for this horrible series of rapes and murders that happened in their town, which were done by the rest of the Burns gang. Um, you had Danny Huston as Arthur, and I believe the other guy. I mean, I can't. Is it Jacko or Samuel Stoat or? See, I'm not the bit. I don't really. I don't. I think it might be David Wenham. Yeah, it's David Wenham. Is it David? Yeah, David. Is it David Wenham, or is he that other guy? Who's the British? No, I think it's David Wenham. I think that's who it is. Uh, I could be completely wrong. I'm not an expert on this film about the actors, to be honest. No, that's David. When David Wenham plays Eden Fletcher, the hoity-toity guy, who I thought he was doing his best Cary Elwes impression from Bram Stoker's Dracula, but Dylan Lamb is John Hurt. Samuel Stoat, that's who it is. Samuel Stoat's character played by Tom Budge. So Samuel Stoat and Arthur, they went to this town and they raped and murdered some people, and so the town wants their justice, so they end up using this young boy as a scapegoat. And I felt for him. That's one character I actually cared for. Guy Pearce I felt for too, because that was his brother. The problem was it didn't focus on Guy Pearce. Instead, it decided to go away from Guy Pearce and focus on Ray Winstone's character, who played Captain Morris, who's this sheriff, like this lawman of this Australian town. And, and it's a typical sort of deal, cliche, where he plays a character who wants to do good, but he sets up this deal, this proposition for Guy Pearce's character. We're going to take your brother in, and you can go free along with your brother and get a full pardon if you go in and find your brother, your older brother, Arthur, and kill him. Then I'll let your brother go, and I'll give you a full pardon, and so forth. So as the film goes on, this character, as the film just keeps shoving him down your throat, this character played by Ray Winstone is pretty much this character who wants to do the right thing. He leaves his wife out of everything as usual. I've seen this done a million times where the wife is left out of everything. She wants to be part of the lawman's job, but he doesn't do anything. He doesn't want her to be part of it, but she wants to. I mean, come on. Every cop drama, every cop movie has that going on, and share with me type deal. He doesn't want to do it. She overhears things. So she ends up, she tries to have some compassion for what's going on, I guess. And she figured out what happened. She knew the girl who got raped and killed. So she wants some justice too. And so Ray Winstone is ordered by this rich hoity-toity guy. I guess he's the guy who runs the place, Eden Fletcher, to take the boy out, Mike, and have him flogged 100 times. And he says, we can't do that. He'll die. I don't care. We want justice. And now you have this sort of back and forth thing with Ray Winstone's character. Should I do it or should I not? I don't want him. He even puts a gun to one of the townsmen people's head. Like, next person, anyone who puts his hands on Mike, I'm going to shoot. And it doesn't do anything because then Eden Fletcher tells him, you better do it. And so he drops the keys. Eden Fletcher takes the kid out, and they end up flogging him, trying to have some Christ allegory here, which is very heavy-handed. And that's part of this film is very heavy-handed. I wouldn't say pretentious, and that's what I thought at first, but it's not really, it's heavy-handed. It's not pretentious because it's not really hiding much, or it's not really underneath whatever. It's really heavy-handed. It's like, the Australian outback in the 1880s was a horrible place to be, full of flies and death. And I'm like, yeah, I understand that. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't want to be there either. I mean, I knew that it wasn't the nicest place to be. I didn't need a film to show me that. People know that the 1880s was not sunshine and rainbows. And that's not the poor problem here. The problem isn't necessarily the atmosphere. It's, to me, it's the fact that it's just atmosphere. And I know some people had reviews, and that's fine. That's what makes it brilliant. It's just atmosphere is what builds the story and nothing else. I'm like, what? Really? Atmosphere builds the story and nothing else. So you don't need a screenplay. All you need is some Australian outback imagery, and you're good to go. I disagree with that, okay? The story itself is very, my opinion, was bland. I was not surprised at all about anything that happened. There was no shocks to me. Everything was laid out right in front of me. I predicted that in the end, Guy Pearce's character was not going to end up killing his brother, while he was in the mountains hiding in the caves. He was going to end up killing his brother eventually. I knew that. But I knew that he wasn't going to kill his brother. Then he was going to get his younger brother Mike back. I knew that he was going to team up with his older brother and then try to get his brother back, and that's exactly what happened. I predicted that the Mike was going to die, either by his wounds or the fact that while they're trying to escape, he gets shot or something, and that's what happened. He died. I knew that was going to happen. And I knew that something was going to happen in the end where Arthur and his gang were going to find a way to get into the stronghold of the mansion that Ray Winstone had. And he was going to get his, because you heard lines of dialogue that said, it's over for you. It's over, Captain Morris. You're through. Of course, that's what happens. Instead of Eden who does it, it's the criminals. Ha ha. And then one of the criminals, Tom Budge, tries to rape his wife, which harkens back to a line in dialogue, which I predicted that she was going to get raped later in the film, because it was definitely a bit of foreshadowing, where she says, "What if it was me?" when she's mentioning, the whole trying to get justice for her friend who was raped and killed, and of course along with her family and the newborn baby that the mother was carrying, and there was one scene. I mean, there's a few scenes of really solid acting. I thought Emily Watson, when she had that one scene where she's in the bathtub talking to her husband, Ray Winstone, talking to him about the imagery and everything that she remembers from the night where her boyfriend was raped and murdered, and she held the newborn in her hands. That was some pretty good acting on her part. But anyway, going back to the whole sort of raping thing. That's what that's really my idea of great entertainment, is raping and raping and flogging. I mean, that's really what I like to watch over and over again, is raping and flogging in my movies. I'm just saying. It's not my idea of entertainment, folks. So anyway, yeah, she says, "What if it was me that was raped?" She insinuates that, and of course, that leads to her being raped in the end. I knew that was going to happen. See, that's the problem. All the shocks and the twists this movie had, I saw coming a mile away. I thought it was fairly predictable, for me personally. But that's just me. And I never even read a synopsis of this movie before I saw it. I never even saw a trailer of the movie before I saw it. I just sat down and watched it, and I was able to predict the majority of the film's plot points before they even happened. So that's just what happened with me. But anyway, like I said, in my opinion, it's style over substance. There's not much substance here except implied substance. Implied substance by philosophical waxings by Danny Hutson's character, or implied substance by moments where you have John Hurt, who's, I thought, overacted his ass off in this role as Joe and Lamb, but at least he had some fun with it. I gotta give him that. At least he had some fun with this role, where it seems like nobody else did. This movie can't have any kind of brevity or any kind of lightness. Even moments where it could be bits of lightness is really not necessarily that much of anything. It's like this movie's, God forbid we have any fun, because we're just going to depress the hell out of you, because that's our whole point here, is we're making a depressing, bleak Western, and that's the whole point, that, it's hopeless. This land will be civilized, and civilization, by terms of civilizing things, you don't end up civilizing jack shit. And I guess that's the point. It will be civilized, but no, it won't actually, because the only way it'll be civilized, I guess, is if the uncivilized civilize this uncivilized. I have no idea. I'm not even gonna think too deep into this movie. I think this movie is like its deep thoughts are as deep as Jack Handy's deep thoughts. It's not that deep, folks. And the plot is very, very straightforward, and it takes itself so goddamn seriously, like it's a fucking gospel half the time. It's like your plot is pretty much a generic, hey, I want this. The sheriff of the town wants this crime to end, so it hires the brother of the guy who's committing the crimes to kill the brother. That's been done before. That's the problem. There's nothing about this Western that is groundbreaking to me. It doesn't break any new ground. It just covers the same path as all the other Westerns did. And it does it in a very boring, heavy-handed fashion. That's my thoughts on it. And there were some moments that were... the only moment I didn't predict is when Guy Pearce got a spear thrown in his chest. That's it. And then the Aborigines' head got blown off. Those are the two moments where I didn't find predictable. And like I said, the biggest problem with the film for me is that its pacing is just so slow. It's a slog to sit through. It is like you're just waiting for something to happen. And I'm sorry, shots of atmosphere and bits and pieces of Nick Cave's score does not equal something happening for me. Okay? And, oh yeah, because I don't get it. No, there's not much to get about this movie, folks. It takes place in the 1880s. Guy Pearce is hired by Ray Winstone. He gives him a proposition that he'll let his younger brother go, as well as give them both pardons if he kills his older brother, Arthur. And so he sets off into the wilderness, into the outback, to find his brother and kill him. And he ends up meeting up with John Hurt in one scene, and John Hurt makes some reference to Darwin and says, "We're white men, not apes. We're white men, not animals." And I'm like, of course. You find out, no, of course they are animals, because they're raping and killing people. See, that's the philosophy here. It's about as heavy-handed as Cannibal Holocaust. It's about as heavy-handed as Riverbend was. Riverbend had some of the same lines of dialogue. We're white men, not animals. I mean, this is the same sort of thing. And so, of course, John Hurt is a bounty hunter, one of the oldest bounty hunters I've ever seen. But I get, he's a bounty hunter and gets knocked out by Guy Pearce. Guy Pearce continues on his journey, and then while Guy Pearce is riding around on his horse, looking up at the stars, we continuously, or riding on his horse through the blazing desert, we continuously cut back to Ray Winstone and his wife and what's going on in the town, and flies buzzing around everywhere, and even cut back to shots of people pissing on a tree, because this is the type of movie that this movie's trying to be. It's like, look at this. It's so bleak. It's so depressing. It's atmosphere. And then you're like, when you dig deeper past this atmosphere, there's not much to it. There's not much worth watching again. I'm sorry. If I want to see atmosphere, I'll just watch a music video or clips of the movie on YouTube. Okay? The story wasn't much to me. It didn't engage me. It didn't excite me. It wasn't compelling. I've seen films where there's a bunch of roving band of crazy people who are raping and killing people. I've seen that done hundreds of times. What is different about this film's approach? Because it has a character of Ray Winstone who's following the law but also feels a little bit bad about the job that he's doing. Is that really a different thing? I've seen that done a million times too. I mean, I don't understand the praise this movie got. That's fine if people love it. I'm not one of them. And it's not that I didn't understand it. There wasn't much there to begin with. It's style over substance here. And critics ate it up because it's just visually beautiful. It is. And that's why I can't say I hate the movie, because there were shots that were really genuinely wonderful to look at. But after a while, if all I'm getting is just beautiful shots of cinematography, and I'm not getting much excitement, or I'm not getting much thrills, or I'm not getting much engaging moments of thought-provoking dialogue or anything, then I just get a lot of moments of singing and soundtrack moments. Just more, I kind of felt like the movie was just an excuse for Nick Cave to promote his music rather than a actual film. And then it just honestly loses my interest. And it's not that I have ADD. It's not that I'm that type of guy. I mean, I love David Fincher's Zodiac, and that movie's twice as long as this is. A lot of people find that boring. And I really enjoy that movie and find it engaging and thought-provoking and engrossing all the way throughout. So it's not that I'm the guy whose ADD issues makes it so I can't, enjoy the film. It's just I felt the movie was just not much of anything. It was just there. It was I put it on and I watched it and it was on my TV. That's it. It didn't engage me. It didn't compel me. It didn't make me think deep thoughts. It didn't do anything like that. It made me admire the beautiful cinematography and the interesting score and the well done performances, but all I was waiting for at the end was for Guy Pearce to finally do something. And when he does, it's just really forgettable. He just shoots the rapist guy in the head and then shoots his brother, and he stumbles out into the fucking desert, sits down, and the movie ends with his brother saying, "You got me," and then he bows his head down, he dies. That's it. He shoots his brother, he dies, and that's it. His other younger brother died too. So it's a very bleak, depressing movie that I have no desire to watch ever again. If I want to see the cinematography, if I want to see the beautiful scenes and the beautiful shots, I'll just watch the clips on YouTube or see the trailer. I've seen movies that have this sort of heavy-handed sort of stuff that I've liked better. Richard Stanley's Dust Devil is one of them. It's a really deals with the Aborigine. It deals with the Western Australian outback too, but it has this science. It has this sort of horror element to it that I thought was a little bit more engaging. And it's another movie that's not for everybody, but I ended up actually liking Dust Devil for what it was. The Proposition, I just thought it wasn't much of a movie. It just didn't do anything for me. It was on there. I got bored. Really quickly. It was like all these themes it's trying to present, I thought were very heavy-handed and had been done better in other movies, like misogyny and sexism and Christ allegories and the idea of law and when is it right to follow the law and when is it not. I mean, it's just like all these sort of things I've seen before. It wasn't anything that I thought was groundbreaking at all. It wasn't anything that I thought was absolutely compelling and amazing and it completely broke new ground. I just thought it treaded the same path as other westerns had. It just was a less entertaining one for me. So, yeah, I really don't know what else to say about The Proposition except people love it, and that's fine. Go right ahead. I'm not a big fan of it. I'm not a big fan of the film. And I didn't really rant on it that hard. I really didn't. Because I can't really hate them. I can't really be like, oh, this movie's so terrible. I can't really. I mean, it's just one of those things. It's like, it's just not my type of film. And it's a lot of people's type of film. It's a film that a lot of people enjoy, and I'm not going to take that away from them. They're entitled to their opinion, and they're entitled to enjoy it. It's just not the type of movie that I enjoy. But I'm glad that Campbell Fan sent it to me so I could appreciate the visuals. They were really, really nice to look at. And it was interesting, but it's just not my cup of tea at the end of the day. So I really don't know what to say about the film because I rated it 5 stars. And people aren't going to be happy with my rating, but I'm giving it 2. I'm giving it 2 out of 5. I'm not giving it 3 because I didn't even find it mediocre. I thought it was just there. I just thought it was a 2. How about 2.5? Almost 3. 2.5 stars because I thought gay pork. The whole. It was really. I almost sounded like I was going to say gay pork. That's not. That's not what I'm. That's the fuck. Anyway, I thought the performances were really solid. Guy Pearce did a great job. Ray Winstone was good. John Hurt was the only one where I thought was a little bit over the top. And the soundtrack by Nick Cave was interesting. And the cinematography and the direction was fantastic. I will give it that. I just thought the story wasn't much. And the characters, while they were well acted, there wasn't much there for me to care about them. I guess that was the point. Because in the 1880s, people were assholes, I guess. And had no compassion for people. And it's just not the type of movie I like to watch. So I thought it was, and the main reason, if it had more to it other than just good performances, good atmosphere, interesting score, and some well done performances by the cast, then I would say it's I would say I wouldn't say it's a masterpiece. I would say it's a really solid film. But I just didn't find it to be one of those movies for me. I felt it to be just slow pace. The slow pace hurt it. That's part of the reason for the 2.5 star rating. The 2 stars are for the performances and the cinematography, and the half stars for the soundtrack. And the rest, I couldn't give any more. I personally could not give it more than that because I found it to be very slow paced. I found it to be dull. I found it to be boring. I found it to be heavy handed with its messages and themes. And I found it to be a movie that just at the end of the day, there wasn't much to care about it because the film didn't try or it didn't want to make you care about anybody. It didn't want to make you care about anything. And that's the point, I guess. But I like to care about what I'm watching. I like to care about the characters that I'm watching on their journey. And the only ones I cared about were Guy Pearce and his brother because, they had a good connection with each other. But at the same time, I mean, they could have been outlaws and they could have killed people too. I mean, there was no character development with Guy Pearce at all, barely. Nothing. Danny Hudson's character didn't have that much character development either. He was just there, and then he got shot in the end, and that's it. It was almost a cameo role, really. And most character development was relegated to Ray Winstone's character and his wife. It felt more like it was their movie than it was Guy Pearce's, and that's another problem I had with the film. I thought it was going to be Guy Pearce's movie, but it wasn't. It was more of Ray Winstone's film. And it was more about his personal journey. And I thought that was, I don't know, not what I expected at all. And I guess that's the point. That's one part that I didn't see coming. But another part I didn't see coming. But anyway, I really don't know what to say about the film. Except, well made, well directed, well edited, well scored, well acted. It's just not my cup of tea. I found it to be really lacking in the story department. I found it to be really lacking in character. I found it to be really lacking in depth. And I found it to be really lacking in terms of entertainment. And that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. So anyway, thanks for watching my review of The Proposition. And I will see you guys later. See ya.